That's right.
Freya is one of over 3,000 half-Danish children living in the United Kingdom. Her single mother, Jessica, travelled to Copenhagen 5 years ago and conceived Freya at a fertility clinic with the help of a Danish sperm donor. Ironically, today they live in Denmark Hill in South London.
I researched the issue of outcomes for donor-conceived children. It said that it does help if they look like the family they do have. My family, i.e. the family my daughter will have, does look quite Scandinavian, so that obviously gave the Danish banks a bit of an edge up on the British ones.
In Aarhus, Denmark, at the Syconia Fertility Clinic, gynecologist and director Carsten Petersen helps women to conceive through donated sperm. An increasing number of his patients are British women.
Fertility tourism is a word which came into the vocabularies, and this cross-border fertility treatment is being more and more. So that if we can look at last year, we had couples, women from 38 different countries in the world coming here for the treatment. We are responsible for more than 15,000 kids.
It's very straightforward in Denmark. They don't really ask questions, and they don't care if you're sort of single or lesbian or anything. Whereas in the British banks, it's a little bit more tricky. There's waiting lists. I'd heard about people being, waiting for a few years all the time. Their fertility is obviously decreasing.
As a lesbian couple, we have to look outside the box to get our sperm, and we looked outside the box and we looked everywhere, and we decided to use a sperm bank as it being the best option for us, wasn't it? Mm-hmm.
Cal and Anna searched for alternatives to British sperm banks and found Denmark. The Danish banks were attractive because sperm could literally be sent to their door. While straws of sperm from Denmark can cost only £80, treatments at fertility clinics in the UK can cost over 10 grand. Cal and Anna's home insemination attempts failed, but they eventually conceived at a UK clinic, still using their Danish donor.
It's actually, they're the finest sperm banks in the world. I know it's a really strange thing to say, but the British sperm banks, you don't get any information at all, you don't get photos. There are fewer of them because, the law in the UK is you're only allowed to have open donors. So a lot of blokes don't want to get involved with that. From America, it would have cost a fortune to get stuff shipped over. Denmark really is, it's a drive away, isn't it, really, for us, Denmark?
The level of information provided about donors is one of the reasons Danish banks are so popular. Through sperm bank websites like Cryos, prospective parents can specify details such as the eye colour, height, and weight of their donor. They are also given access to baby photos, a psychological profile, and a medical history that dates back to the donor's great-grandparents.
I think there's some similarities between single people looking on dating sites. As much as you want it to be about the personality and intelligence and compatibility and all that kind of stuff, there are certain things you just think, actually, I need a visual here. And that was kind of how we played it.
And I've heard about some people going through endless lists of people and trying to decide between someone who's got, studied engineering vis-a-vis someone who studied art. And I just think, to me, again, like I said, I decided this person was going to be anonymous. I don't personally believe, you know, it's nature and nurture. I don't think that, you know, nature's that strong. I don't think that you're going to select a Nobel Prize winning physicist and you're going to have a child who's a Nobel Prize. It doesn't work that way, you know. And that also wasn't a concern of mine. I didn't try and sort of pick somebody who was particularly good looking or particularly intelligent or anything like that. I just basically said to them, you know, about my height, my colouring, that's fine, and that obviously wasn't that difficult.
Our law is set up to protect children born here and to make sure they have contact with their own biological parents. But once we start importing, you know, children born from gametes in other countries, then there's no way that they can follow up who their biological parents are.
It is the Danish law that we have to stick to, and the fertility clinics in Denmark, they are under some sort of supervision from a European accreditation, so that we have to follow the rules there.
Cryos is using a loophole in British law to be able to send it directly to individual women.
I ultimately decided to go for an anonymous donor over a known donor because the research I'd done suggested that if they're having an issue, usually when they're teenagers and they want to meet their father or they want to meet the donor, they can sometimes be looking for a father figure, and the known donors agree to be contacted when they're 18, but they're not agreeing to be a father figure.
A child, particularly if it's born to a single parent, will ask about where is my dad, you know, why don't I have a daddy? A woman needs to be able to give a good, coherent and strong answer to that. If the answer is, you know, I imported your sperm from somebody I don't know in Denmark, it doesn't sound so good. She needs to be able to have a clear and strong basis on which to help a child feel proud about who they are.
It's always, the idea is basically you tell them from word go, so it just becomes a normal part of their life from word go. And then at the point at which they then begin to understand a little bit more what's happened, because obviously at 4 they don't really have any conception of, you know, sex or reproduction or birth or anything. But at the point at which she does start to understand it, it's been a normal part of her story from day one, so it's just part of who she is. It doesn't come as a shock. I mean, I basically made the decision I was going to have a child by anonymous donor. She was not going to have a father in that sense. So that decision was made, and I didn't think that keeping up this possibility for 18 years of meeting this person who was only a donor rather than a father was the right decision. I obviously don't know if that's going to be the right decision, and it could well be that Freya, you know, gets older and wishes that she did have a known donor, but that was my thinking at the time.
The anonymous sperm donation have proven that it's a good treatment for many years. So we talked about that if we could do it so that they could have anonymously sperm donation and open sperm donation, it would be a good thing.
We used an open donor in the end because, I mean, at the end of the day, it's not our right to tell our child he can't possibly trace his biological father. There's, you know, it's not up to us, is it, to make those?
No.
To make those decisions. So yeah, we were sure we wanted an open donor.
We wanted the choice. We wanted to like, because that was one of the things about using Cryos, was we realised that there was open or closed, and you know, the fact that we had the choice was a positive thing, but when it came down to it, it wasn't an option for us. For other people in this country, maybe it would be, but for us, we didn't want to take away our child's choice.
That is the psychological aspect for a person. But the other side that's really important about knowing who your parents or your genetic links are the medical side. And we're in an environment and a society today where genetics is increasingly important, and our understanding of genetics has increased massively, and we understand medical histories, and we now know that actually a lot of how we are medically and health-wise is as a result of our parents.
Healthy was important, and family history. You know, our guy is healthy, he's one of those sporty types. His family history, we know all his grandparents died really old. You know, there doesn't seem to be any sudden deaths in his family or any terrible illnesses. So that's really important for us as well, you know, because we only know half of this child's genetic structure really. You know, so we want to know that the person donating is fit, strong and healthy.
The only problem with home insemination is that it's very difficult to follow up if they see if they are pregnant or not. I think that I've heard that only few come back to the sperm bank with the results. For instance, here in Denmark, we have a limit of 12 babies per donor, and it's different from different countries, but it's very important that we register what we are doing. If it is so that you liberate it so that hundreds of children is born from the same donor, then it can happen that two genetic boys and girls marry to each other with the problem of hereditary diseases.
It's an area that needs to be looked at reasonably carefully. I mean, I'm not myself that concerned about the whole idea of unwittingly meeting somebody who you're related to. I mean, for several reasons. I mean, one, I think if it is largely international, that's very unlikely to happen. There are restrictions, quite good restrictions per country.
Well, there's two issues there. There's firstly, you've got those who are raised in single-parent families, and then completely separate issue is gay and lesbian parents. So they're two separate issues. The former, there's been masses of research done on raising single-parent children in single-parent families for years and years. There's reams and reams of literature that basically shows an ideal situation for a child is to have their biological parents raising them throughout the whole lifetime.
I think if you've got two happily married parents who both want to be, you know, mothers and fathers and are engaged with their children, then that's fantastic. The child is very lucky, but you have to be honest, who really does actually have that, you know? So that's the thing. So it's not that I'm saying it's, you know, there's anything wrong with obviously being married and having children, of course not. But I just think this idea that just that a structure that simple is going to make for a happy life is far too simplistic.
At the moment, the message seems to be strongest from most people in the research field that it's beneficial to kids, almost beneficial, an advantage for kids to be raised by gay or lesbian couples. But actually, I think there is other research that is being ignored and undermined, partly for political correctness sake, that also shows that actually there are negative effects.
No harm's going to come of people starting a family. That's from love. That's not a bad place.
He's not going to miss out for not having a dad, you know, because he's got double mama, hasn't he? He's a lucky kid. The more people see couples like us doing things like this, you know, the more it changes perception of what we are. You know, a lot of people think we're witches, you know, brewing babies in cauldrons. Actually, we're just like a normal couple that just want to have kids, you know, and when people meet us, they see that, don't they?